Now we're going to start a Class 1 double braid splice. I'll need tape, a permanent Sharpie marker, rope cutting scissors, a 1/2 inch fid, a small pusher, and finally a needle and some wax thread. This end of the rope is melted. I'm going to take a piece of tape, tape it over the end of the rope, and then I'm going to take my rope and leather cutting scissors and cut the end off. Then I'll lay my rope out straight and take my fid and measure it. I'll take 1 fid length and I'll mark the rope. From this first mark, you will take your fid and measure 5 fid lengths, and you'll tie a knot at that point. Again, from your second mark, you're going to take 5 fid lengths and tie a knot. Now you need to figure out how big you want your eye splice or your loop. So take the rope, make a loop, and where you want the loop to be, mark the other side. So you'll have your first mark and your second mark. That will measure how big the loop will be. From the second mark, you're going to take your pusher, and here you're going to extract the core of the rope from the cover. You're going to need to work the pusher into the rope and pull the core out. This can be kind of difficult to do. Sometimes using a smaller fid works better than a pusher. Then you'll pull the core out of the cover. You'll take your tape and you'll tape the end of the core. You'll pull the core out, and from your knot, you're going to slide the cover back over the core. Then, where your core comes out of the cover, you're going to take your permanent marker and mark the core. Then you're going to pull the core out again. You'll take your fid. Now on your fid, there's a little line. You'll take the short section and you'll mark your rope. Then you'll take a complete fid length and you'll mark the end. So you should have 3 lines on the core. From the second line on the core, you'll insert your fid into the core, which should be hollow, and you'll put your fid and pull it out at mark number 3. This is how it should look. This point, you'll take the end of your cover and you'll tape it. Then you take the taped end of the cover and you insert it into the fid. Now what I like to do is to actually take tape and tape the cover of the rope onto the fid. At this point, you can just pull the fid, and you can use your pusher if you would like to push the fid through the core. Then you pull it through. Now you should have a mark on your cover. That will be the first mark that you did when you started. Now I take the end of the cover that is taped to the fid and I cut it off. Then from the line, I take and I count down 8 strands and I do a mark. Then I count down 4 and I mark 2 strands. Then I count down 5 and I mark 2 side-by-side strands. And then I go 4 and then 5 again. So from your first mark, you're going to mark down 8, do a straight line across, and then you're going to alternate 4 and 5 strands. Then you're going to take your scissors and you're going to cut the 2 side-by-side strands that you marked. This is called thinning the cover. You can use the ends of your scissors or your pusher to pull the marked strand of rope through, and then cut each strand. This can be a very tedious process, but it's very necessary. Again, you're just going to cut the strands that you marked, the 2 side-by-side strands. If you get a few extra strands and accidentally cut them, that's okay. Just continue cutting the marked strands. Now, you're going to make sure that you do not cut above the straight line mark that you made when you counted 8 down. Now you're going to take your core and push it down over the cover until your permanent mark comes out. Then, about 6 strands down, you're going to insert your fid into the cover. You're going to take your core and put it in the fid and tape it on to the fid. This is a step I like to do. Then you're going to put the fid in and pull it partway through the cover. Now you put it partway through because the fid will not fit all the way through the length of your loop. Reinsert the fid at the same point that you pulled the fid out of the cover. Then you're going to push the fid down through the cover, approximately 1/3 fid length from where you first extracted the core from the cover. Then you're going to pull it out. At this point, you may need your pusher to help push the core out through the cover. And gently pull. At this point, you're going to milk the cover over the core. You're going to smooth it out with your hands. Now you're going to take your marker, and after you have milked the cover and the core, you're going to take your marker and mark the core where the core comes out of the cover. Then you're going to pull the core down, and where you see your mark, you're going to measure 1/3 of a fid length, approximately, and you're going to take your scissors and cut at an angle. Now we need to thin the core. So where you marked, you're going to take 2 strands and cut and thin them. Then you're going to rotate the rope and cut approximately every other rope thread and pull it out to thin it. This is a process called thinning the core. When you're done, this is what it should look like. Now you've got excess cover coming out of your core, so you're going to take your scissors where it comes out and cut at an angle. Now we're going to milk the core over the cover by smoothing it out. Then we're going to milk the cover over the remainder of the core. Continue to milk until it is nice and smooth. Sometimes you might have a little extra core hanging out through the cover. Just take your scissors, clip the extra off, and smooth the cover back over the core again. Now you're going to move your rope down and go to the big knot you created. You're going to milk the cover down over the core. At this point, you might have to milk the core again. Continue to milk the cover over the core until it is completely inserted into the cover.